Part 1. Above the Blue. I never wanted to leave Earth, not really. When I signed up for the Odyssey program, it was supposed to be a 4-month orbital maintenance run. Replace a few comms satellites, recalibrate some telescopes, and observe weather patterns in real time. The pay was good, the training was hard, the view worth everything. Nobody told me I'd be the last man left to see it die. It started 3 days into my shift aboard the Halcyon Reach, a sleek little craft with barely enough room for 3, let alone solitude. Normally, we rotated shifts, me, Alvarez and Kimura, but their shuttle went dark on re-entry, just disappeared off all radar, like someone had wiped it with a cosmic eraser. Probably a telemetry glitch, ground control said. Try not to worry. Keep your eyes peeled for debris. But when I checked the feed from the rear scanner logs, my heart stopped. There was no fireball, no debris trail, no distress signal, just silence. And then the clouds below began to swirl unnaturally, like ink dropped in water. The first storm was over the Pacific, towering black cumulonimbus clouds, spreading across thousands of miles in minutes. From orbit, it looked like a cancer blooming across the planet's skin. I watched it, powerless, as the ocean writhed beneath the tempest, turning from deep blue to something darker. Then came the silence from the surface. At first, I thought the communication array had failed, but the diagnostics showed everything green. The relay towers in Australia, India, South Africa, online. No interference, no static, no voices, just silence. By day 5, I could no longer see the continents clearly. The clouds had turned into something more, a mesh of moving patterns, almost intelligent. They pulsed in sequence, wrapping Earth in a choking shroud. I stared through the viewport until my eyes blurred, and when I blinked, I thought I saw faces in the mist. That was the first night I dreamed of the Sirens. Part 2. The Sirens Sing. Sleep was supposed to be regulated on the Halcyon Reach. Chemical cycles. Synth-induced REM. No dreams, no nightmares, just short, efficient rest. That's what the training manual said. But something had changed. Something in me. I didn't sleep that night. I fell. I plunged into a dream that felt more real than the dim-lit corridors of this ship. In it, I wasn't in the Halcyon. I was suspended in the void, weightless, staring down at a different Earth. Not our Earth. The same shape, the same tilt, but the colours were wrong. No blue oceans, no green, just a sickly grey with veins of something black crawling across its surface, like rot under skin. The clouds churned slowly, deliberately. And then I heard them. The song. It came from everywhere, through the vacuum, through my bones, a low, mournful chorus, like a cathedral choir heard underwater. The voices weren't human, too smooth, too harmonic, layered one on top of another, each note twisting in and out of tune like they couldn't agree on what sadness sounded like. I tried to cover my ears, but I had no hands in the dream, no body, just presence. And the music kept rising until it filled everything. And then, movement. Not in space, in the clouds. I couldn't make sense of the shapes. Nothing with symmetry, nothing with a name, just motion. Huge and slow like continents shifting, something alive and awake inside the storm, something that saw me, its gaze pierced through the atmosphere like a nail through cloth, and I felt it pass through me. I woke, gasping, clawing at the harness, my fingers numb with sweat. The lights were flickering. Day 7. The silence from Earth had become absolute. Not just a quiet frequency. There were no power signatures, no signals, nothing. The entire planet was electronically dead. Even the orbiting satellites, the ones that hadn't yet been swallowed by the cloud layer, had gone dark one by one. No pings, no transponders, like they'd been unplugged. I tried rerouting comms through the auxiliary dish. Redundant hardware, long range, rarely used. It pinged once. Just once. Not a message, not a voice, just a sound, a tone. It came through the speaker like a heartbeat filtered through broken glass. 3 beats, then silence, then 3 more. I listened to it for hours, hypnotized. There was a pattern, I'm sure of it. I ran it through the ship's analysis software. No known encryption, no digital fingerprint, organic, like a living thing trying to imitate language. That's when I began recording personal logs. Not for ground control, they weren't listening anymore. For me. to remind myself I existed. Mission log personal supplement, day 7. The Earth is no longer responding. The cloud formations are behaving in ways that contradict meteorology. I believe they're not clouds at all. I believe I am not alone out here. By day 8, the clouds started reacting. They pulsed when I passed overhead. I noticed it first over what used to be Brazil, dark bands of mist that contracted like muscle, timing their movements to the orbit of the halcyon. Wherever I went, they followed, and sometimes they opened. Just long enough for me to glimpse what lay beneath. I wish I hadn't looked. Cities, or what was left of them, had collapsed into silence. Flooded streets, tower skeletons blackened with ash. The coasts were all wrong. The ocean looked thicker, like oil or blood diluted with ink. And beneath it, I saw shapes. They didn't move like sea life. They moved like dancers. Long limbs, luminous eyes, and something that might have been a mouth but always closed. Every time I stared too long, a voice whispered behind me. Only when I turned around, I was always alone. That night, I dreamt again. But this time, I was inside the clouds. Suspended in endless grey, thick enough to touch, lightless but never dark. And there were others, dozens, hundreds, human-shaped, but drifting like jellyfish, eyes closed, mouths open. They were singing. The same song from before, but now I could make out words. Or something close to words, alien syllables repeating, building, a litany. I woke to find frost forming on the inside of the window. Not possible, I thought. Cabin temperature was stable, CO2 levels were fine. But there it was, spreading across the glass like spider webs of crystal. I reached out to touch it, and as my fingers brushed the pane, a shape formed in the frost. A handprint. 5 fingers. Long, thin, pressed from the outside. Part 3. The Threshold. I stopped logging transmissions on day 10. Not because the system failed, it didn't. Not because I gave up, though I'm not sure I haven't. I stopped because it felt like I was no longer speaking to anyone who could hear. Not to ground control. Not to anyone alive. I kept imagining my words drifting endlessly into the void, swallowed by cold silence or intercepted by something I didn't want hearing them. Instead, I spoke to myself. Whispers in the mirror. Quiet arguments in my sleep. I would pace the narrow walkway between the cockpit and the crew quarters, talking under my breath, debating myself, trying to sound sane. The ship didn't feel empty anymore, not really. I couldn't put my finger on it at first. It was subtle, the air was denser. The temperature was off, only by fractions, but I could feel it. The vents began exhaling warmth that smelled faintly of something metallic. The walls, which used to feel sterile and smooth, now seemed soft somehow, like the skin of something living. And the sounds. They changed. The hum of the power core used to be constant, predictable, but now it pulsed, rising and falling like breath. Sometimes I'd hear clicks, like knuckles tapping lightly against the hull. At night there were dragging sounds across the floor, but every time I looked, nothing was there. Nothing I could see. I began recording the ambient noises. Every hour on the hour, playback revealed layers. Something beneath the hum, beneath the static. A frequency I couldn't isolate, couldn't replicate, but it was there. A presence buried in the signal, like voices underwater, screaming at a frequency just outside human range. The song returned. Not as a dream this time, I heard it while awake. Soft at first, just a single tone threaded through the mechanical rhythms of the ship. Then harmony. Then melody. Dozens of voices, each one more beautiful than the last, rising like smoke into the air. They weren't human, but they wanted to be. They were imitating, mimicking grief. I tried flooding the comms with white noise, tried playing bark through the hull speakers. I even tore open a panel and shut down the auditory feedback loop. None of it worked. The music didn't stop, it grew. It echoed inside my bones. It wasn't coming through the speakers anymore. It was coming from inside the ship. Day 11. There's something just outside the hull. It's not visible on the radar. The sensors show clear, but I can feel it, a presence. Every time I close my eyes, I feel it drifting just out of sight, circling like a shark. And when I sleep, I see it. A tower. Black. Spiked. Slowly rising through the clouds of Earth, like a monolith being unearthed from deep below. It climbs without propulsion. No light, no heat, just endless, silent ascent. In my dream, I'm no longer in the halcyon reach. I'm inside the tower. It's cold. It smells like burnt iron and old flowers. The walls pulse gently, like veins full of light. I walk, barefoot, down an infinite corridor toward a door with no frame. Just a void in the wall, covered in glyphs that shift when I stare too long. Every night I get closer. Night I hear the voice again, not speaking, asking, "Open the door." Not a command, not even a whisper, a suggestion. I woke with blood in my mouth. I must have bitten my tongue in my sleep. There were 5 long scratches down the length of my arm, too straight to be accidental. I have no memory of making them. I watched Earth from the viewport for hours. It's changing. The clouds no longer behave like weather systems. They move like organisms, coiling, expanding, contracting in spirals that match the rhythms of the music. Every few hours they part just enough to reveal the planet beneath, pale and broken. Black veins running through the oceans, cities collapsed into silence. No lights, no smoke, no fire, just stillness, like the world took a long breath and never let it out. Day 13. The ship isn't the same. There are new corridors, I swear it. I found one yesterday branching off the service tunnel that leads to the cryopod bay. It's not in the schematics. I crawled through it, flashlight trembling in my hand, heart thundering in my chest. The walls were smooth, warm, and pulsing slightly. At the end, I found a mirror, just floating in the dark. A single mirror, full length, anchored to nothing, gently vibrating. When I looked into it, I saw myself, but older, hollow-cheeked, eyes sunken, mouth open in a silent scream, and behind me, something moved. A shadow with no source. A smear of black shaped almost like a man, but not quite. It leaned close. I felt its breath. When I turned around, I was alone, but the smell lingered. Burned plastic and seawater. Day 14. Time is folding in on itself. I've begun seeing flashes of events that haven't happened yet. Systems failing, panels sparking, the viewport cracking. I've started finishing sentences I don't remember beginning, and sometimes I catch my reflection watching me long after I've turned away. There's a rhythm to all of it, a countdown. The music has changed, it's closer now, not distant, not atmospheric. I can hear individual voices, names in them, familiar ones. My mother, Alvarez, Kimura. They sing in unison now. They want me to join them. Day 15. I saw it fully today, the entity that's been circling the ship. It revealed itself through the clouds, rising up from Earth like a god being born. It wore no face, no shape I could truly comprehend. It was light in shadow, geometry stretched and broken. Its form was wrong. Impossible angles, impossible scale. My mind flinched just trying to hold it. It stared at me, no eyes, just attention, a gravity of focus so heavy it made me drop to my knees. And then, silence. No music, no humming. Just one final message. Not through the speakers, not through the dreams. Written on the inside of my helmet's visor. Open the door.